Sponsored by Brilliant.
Hello everybody! Welcome to another episode. We're going to build a guitar fuzz effect and we're going to test it out on this guitar and this amplifier. And if I don't succeed to build the thing, I have to eat a microcontroller. By default, a guitar may sound something like this. You see, the sound is clean and not distorted. So in case you want that rock and roll punchy sound, you know, angry sound, you may use an effect like fuzz for that, which takes the wave and cuts its peaks so it sounds more distorted and more powerful and sometimes even angry and, you know, more artistic expression. Okay, first of all, transistors. Inside you have an entire buffet of transistors to choose from, right? So each transistor gives us a different sound. The clipping is different and it impacts the sound. I have a pair of BC108C transistors. I did some research. I think this one should sound pleasing. Some more packages. I have a foot switch, which is just a normal switch that you can activate with a stomp. Most audio circuits use the jack connector, so I needed a socket for the guitar jack, right? So here it is. We also need a way to power this thing, and I have, 9-volt adapters, and I also have sockets for them. So you can just plug it in like that, except there are two standards for barrel jacks, so some of them fit, some of them don't fit. This one doesn't fit. Yes, so this one fits. It's got a 9-volt battery. It can be used to power the thing without having to, get power from the wall socket. Now I've got also some linear and logarithmic potentiometers. Decibels are actually on a logarithmic sort of scale. So that's why we need logarithmic potentiometers. I also found some steel plates that we can use to do the casing. I have a welder, so no, I don't feel good with a welder. We have some, wires for prototyping.
I'm teaching you how to do it. You should pay me.
To start off, I just want to break out the connections of these two sockets. And I'm mostly doing that for testing purposes. Okay. A jack cable has a ground and a signal contact. So we're going to solder some wires so I can use a breadboard, and the same thing goes for the DC barrel jack socket I'm holding here, except that there's no signal here, there's just ground and 9 volts. I also added, the jack sockets, so the guitar cable can be plugged in right here. The foot switch is too large and it's, it doesn't fit too well. Now let's turn on the ventilator, which I made myself, by the way. Beautiful sound. Observe what happens to this grain of rice. And now it feeds the birds. I'm going to start off by using these cheaper transistors, just in case something goes wrong. I don't have to be sad about losing these expensive ones. But I suspect these will sound a little bit better, but we'll see if it even works, So I don't have an 8200 resistors, so I'm just going to use a 10K potentiometer and tune it to the value I want. Also, I didn't have 33K resistors, so I just connected some lower resistance resistors in series, and this way the resistance sums up and I have the resistance I want. If you don't have the resistance you want, you can always connect multiple resistors in series. And it works the same way with capacitors. If you don't have the capacitance you need, you can connect them in parallel and then the capacitance sums. I got it on the breadboard. Should be safe because you can see the AC is like below half a volt. If I switch it to DC, it's also below half a volt. I hear it a little bit. It can be heard, but it's too broken. I feel it's almost working. Maybe I just made a mistake in the breadboard, Okay, so It works. The problem was one of the capacitors was just not connecting. I can change the amount of fuzz. If I put it to the maximum amount, it sounds something like really brutal. So now I have another problem of how to secure this and isolate it from the box, because the box is grounded. And I think the answer is kind of obvious. So I have this annoying problem. I think you can hear this like high-pitched sound. I have everything connected here. The small little peaks you see is that annoying sound. Watch what happens when I unplug the power supply. And when I plug it back in, annoying to say the least. Alright, so now I'm in a music studio. Last time I checked, this was working. I closed it up, everything should be fine now. I had a lot of issues like fucking bad potentiometers, cold solder joints, disconnecting wires. So this is a good sign. The lack of smoke is also a good sign, you know. Alright, so this is my favorite instrument I own. I'm sorry. Let's go, everything's working. Didn't expect that. So this is the final effect. I think it turned out quite rough, actually. But it has its charm, of course. Really sharp, it could cut you. It's not very symmetrical, maybe some people like that. The amount of bass that it takes out of your instrument, I think it doesn't really sound that good. You can also, of course, like pass it through an amplifier and play with the knobs to make it sound better, but it doesn't sound massive right out of the box, so you need to take that into account. It seems like you enjoy learning about science and technology. Well, I have something just for you. Brilliant is a learning platform that lets you learn while having fun. It is designed to be incredibly effective at building understanding from the ground up. They have courses on quantum computing, mathematical analysis, electronic circuits, and many more. They focus on hands-on exercises and lessons that really keep you engaged. This way your learning is much more effective than, for example, watching lecture videos on YouTube or whatever. I personally have been doing the electronic circuits course and a little bit of the data science and algorithms course. They also have some pretty cool features. For example, you have the ability to skip ahead if you want to check out a lesson that's later in the material of the course. I'm currently #1 in the Hydrogen League, so let me know if you can beat me. I'm pretty sure it's going to be really hard for you. Unless it's going to be super easy, because Brilliant is super effective at teaching you stuff. You can try everything Brilliant has to offer for free. For a 30-day trial, visit the link in the description. Just go to brilliant.org/velectronics or scan the QR code. And by doing so, you'll get 20% off your annual premium subscription. Massive thank you to Brilliant for sponsoring this video and making all of that possible. This is so durable. This is the most mechanical thing I have mechanized in my whole mechanics. Mechanic.